The issues facing an estimated 2.3 million Australians who are unpaid carers are being raised at a national conference in Canberra. Joining us now is Carer Australia President Louise Gilmore and Becky Reid, a young carer looking after her mother. Good morning to you both.
Good morning, Tracy.
Good morning, Trace.
Louise, let me start with you. You seem eminently qualified to talk about something like this. At one point you were looking after a husband with terminal cancer, a mother-in-law who had a stroke and a daughter with disabilities. How on earth did you cope with all of that?
I think when that happens, as with many carers, you just go onto autopilot. You don't know how you do it, but you just struggle on somehow.
Were you a caring, benevolent sort of a person, or were you just a normal person who had no choice?
No, I was a young journalist, in fact, and that doesn't mean I wasn't caring, I suppose. But no, I had really no idea how to do it, and in a way, I think I represent all the people who are not particularly motherly or, don't necessarily have those qualities, but have to do it anyway.
Becky, you're 20 years old now, and you've been caring for your mum since you were 11.
Mm-hmm.
How does an 11-year-old find herself in that situation? Was there no other support for you?
Not really. It was quite by accident with Mum. It happened really suddenly. We were minding our own business one day and she falls over, she collapses, and voila, she's sick, and I'm a primary carer. But my brothers and sisters are all a lot older than me, and so they had already moved away and gotten on with their life and started their own families, so it just got left to me.
So you left school early. What about working, and what about sort of planning your own life?
I did the best I can. It is really hard because there is only, legally carers are only allowed a 20-hour limit where they can work, which makes it hard because by the time you've gone shopping, you've done other things, you're stuck and you haven't got a lot of time for work. And obviously I can't study as well because I live right out in the bush, which means that I need to do homeschooling and things like that. So there's not really a lot out there for young carers, but I do what I can.
Louise, what sort of home support is there for carers generally?
Well, there's really a dearth of support. There are a number of respite programs, but there's huge unmet need out there. There's nowhere near enough to go around.
So give me a sense of how carers are coping. What do they do?
Well, to tell you the truth, just recently I've detected a sense of absolute desperation among carers. They are not coping. We know from research that carers are likely to be sicker, they're likely to have illnesses, injuries from their caring duties. They're more vulnerable to depression and anxiety, loneliness and all that sort of stuff. So I wouldn't say that many of them are coping at all.
Becky, you must bang your head against a brick wall sometimes wondering how you can get some help. We look at the figures, there are 2.3 million carers in Australia. The work that they do has been estimated to be valued at something like $20 billion a year.
Yeah, you do bang your head against a wall most of the time. I have to look after my mum 23 hours a day, so...
What's the hardest part?
Of looking after Mum?
Yeah.
It's the emotional and the mental strain. The physical's easy to cope with, that's just physical energy. But the emotional strain's the hardest, worrying about Mum, worrying about her emotional needs, her mental needs, what's going to happen, how's she going to be, worrying about my mum's medical costs keep getting higher and higher and higher. The pension doesn't cover that, even though I'm on a care pension as well. Both our incomes come together and we're still down. So it's worrying about, you mentioned before, how am I going to get an education to then turn around and provide for my mother in the future.
Louise, do you get a sense that there is any sort of open ear coming from government?
No, we get a sense that it's very tight, that we can't expect too much. And in fact, there are 181,000 young people like Becky who are looking after the sole carer of someone in their family. So these are not a few people, there are large numbers of young people in this position.
All right, let's hope you get some help, or at least an ear soon. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tracy.
Well, we've climbed to the top.